Thank you to all of you for that. So now, in the agenda, we have the hands-on session. What we planned to do and what we meant with that was giving you the opportunity to log in into the platform, to the EU Med for All, and see how it works, find out a way of using that if you are interested, or experiment with that. I have to say it was a long day, so I understand if you say, actually it's hot and I would like to go for a walk. That does not mean that you are not interested in logging into the platform. It is online, it's available, so you can do that anytime, whenever you like, from your university, from home. So I'm open to both decisions. Either we study an on session and we stay here with the ones who want to try out with their laptop, I'm happy. Or we say, I just give you once more the URL which you can use to log in into the platform remotely, and then create an account and get back to us later if you have questions. Maybe who wants to stay and create an account now can say.
Maybe we can have like 5-10 minutes questions.
Sure, definitely. Definitely.
So maybe if we can just take some.
Yes, I leave the URL of the platform there, and in the meanwhile you discuss and you
mix it all.
Yes, conclude with questions, and please go ahead. Question?
How public is the community, the part of the platform you use? LearnWeb is, but I mean, from what I understood today, you have different courses and with the students, so it's not that it is accessible to external people. Is that right? Or did I understand well?
Yes, in terms of our procedures and for the formal assessing part with submissions, so this is formal part of our different modules and courses. This is not accessible, at least not until the end of all our joint syllabus will be over. But all materials developed during this process, for example, about baseline surveys or assessment grids, all teaching and learning materials will be available. Yeah. And yes, also video. So this
they're not
the
available
joint
now.
Not now.
So basically, the URL is LearnWeb.
Yes, the URL is to connect to LearnWeb, and as I mentioned, what you can do is to create one account, if you like, in the public environment to see the basic functionalities of the platform, or it's also possible to create an account in the EA community of teachers and actually look at what that community of teachers is working with, the scenario presented by Maria today. Clicking here, you have the two options.
So, where will the materials be posted and in the future?
Next year, after the end of the whole joint syllabus.
Right.
We're starting teaching now. We're starting teaching now. So while we're teaching, we don't have ethical clearance to publish anything.
Sure.
After we've finished our teaching, we will know which students also have given consent, to make their data available. And after that, we will do a cross-checking of everything, and then we will be able to make materials available,
including our
video lectures and links to readings and guidelines and
workshops.
workshops.
Will you be using LearnWeb or another? Will it be on LearnWeb?
LearnWeb.
Yeah. Okay, so the environment EU made for all. Okay, right.
And if you signed up, obviously we will keep you informed. There is also another multiplier event
in Rome in 2019 in June. the final conference, let's say, where we'll present the testing of our syllabus, and then the results, and also the feedback from students in who were mobilities in Aarhus and in Sheffield. So
we also can use that declaration of interest which you signed if you are interested to. So that we can send you the link maybe of the website, the official website of the project, where besides link to the platform, there will be also many information and slides and other types of resources posted on the website of the project.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we are happy if you get back in touch with us on the basis of the stimulus that we had today as well. From the technical point of view, I think that it's another perspective. So it's interesting to maybe also think of possible new projects coming out from different ideas, not only between teachers, but with computer scientists from the FAS who are happy to support you or to discuss with you other things.
So basically, general users, because now general users of the LearnWeb platform can upload materials, but I suppose that will not be possible. General users can upload materials.
UMaid for All is a closed environment for the teachers and students that now are part of this teaching process. If you want, I can show you. The other thing is that there's not much there at the moment, except for the documents we shared among partners, also because we haven't started teaching yet. Or I'm the only one who has started teaching last Monday, so I've just set up my class environment. And again, because of ethical clearance, I can't make that public now, because it's a learning environment that's for my class. But I can show you the folders that I've created for them, but there's not much there. Students haven't done anything. But students will be uploading their artifacts, but we won't open it to other people for the moment, because that's not what we're...
But not even in the future. I mean, the general users like me will be able to access the materials and maybe leave, I suppose, comments, but not upload. So it is a closed environment somehow, right?
You'll be able to download and use that, and then if we think of discussing or creating another project, we can work on that.
Actually, I'm not sure whether I interpret correctly Maria's question, but we did not discuss yet in detail what will happen after the end of the project. So sometimes after the end of the project, it's possible to open the materials, the environment to the general public, and the general public might be able to contribute to the community. Now, we did not discuss yet what will happen after the 3 years for UMaid for All. Maybe yes, maybe not. That's not clear now. But if you stay in touch with us, we will let you know for sure. Yes.
An aspect of the project that I think it's really interesting, and I'd be very keen to know more about perhaps in the future, and especially after you've engaged with the teaching for a while, is that of the peer assessment. I think there's a really strong pedagogical grounding in using peer evaluation as part of assessment of a module or a course. And I've been very keen to do that in the modules that I'm teaching, and I've experienced quite a number of challenges from the university to some extent, and also from the students themselves. And taking into account the fact that some of the courses or modules are taught to BA students, and others are taught to MA students. Some of those students are high ability students, and another less high ability. And the fact that the current learning and educational paradigm, at least in the context of the UK that I'm more familiar with, is that giving an emphasis on individual learning, independent learning. There's a very much an emphasis on competition as well, and who gets the highest grades. I probably anticipate, and you'll tell me, what your experience is later on, probably, hopefully, whether there will be some resentment from the part of the students themselves, and the ways in which they engage with peer evaluation. And along with that, I think perhaps it's useful to bring into the discussion the notion of plagiarism. And that's another big
another workshop
discussion, which is at the moment at the fore of assessment in higher education, because gradually more and more of the assignments that students submit are handed in online. And there's a number of tools that you can survey and trace the kinds of knowledge that has been acquired from the part of the students. And the role of the academic, I suppose, at least in the university that I am based at the moment, is that sometimes you get really high percentages. And you then have to make a decision as an academic of whether that's actually reflecting copied work from others, and even if that's the case, whether there's any learning in that, in the assemblage of the new textual entity that's produced by bringing different people's ideas into one piece of writing, or whether it's mere repetition and sometimes without an acknowledgement of the author
maybe
of the
arguing
text.
with students what they did and what is not possible.
Yes, and some of those authors now will be other students.
Yeah.
So then they'll have to, become more familiar into the ways in which referencing can and has got to be used for avoiding self-plagiarism or other students' works plagiarism, and at least in the current context of higher education, which is really looking at those aspects of writing and there are lots of consequences in not abiding by those
Definitely,
aspects.
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Melinda wanted to...
I'd like to try to answer your question, because I don't know if you've started the peer evaluation yet, but like I said, I'm enamored of peer evaluation, and I've been doing it for a long time, and I've made a lot of mistakes, but I have to say that my first thing is that our peer evaluation that we do, it is so continuous that, as I said, sometimes 2 or 3 times in one class on different aspects. And these small percentages add up. So it's not that they're assessing one product one time. There's several people assessing big products, but it's across the board. And I also, in order to teach them how to think critically, I assess how well they assess. I've got so many rubrics that are coming out my ears. You have to really be organized to do this, and I'm not, so it's a problem. But I then take up their assessments, and if somebody is going, oh, wonderful, 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 and I know this person didn't participate at all, then I'm going to give them a rubric that says your critical thinking was in your feet, right? It's down here. So it's a learning process. It takes a long time, but I really think that it is worthwhile, because they realize if one of the things is teamwork and collaboration, they've got to learn, they've got to do teamwork and collaborate, and mine are going to be teachers. If they don't know how to evaluate, they're in trouble. Right? So I just wanted to answer that in that sense. But you really have to be you've got to keep it short and quick. So you ask different things, and we start out with very simple, and then we get a little bit more elaborate each time, asking them more questions and asking them to justify as they get used to it. But
and as they become trained.
Yeah, they have to become trained.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's very useful. Thanks.
But I think then you had a second part.
Thanks a lot. Roberta also wanted to contribute to the discussion.
Yes, basically I wanted to say the same thing, is that I think that the peer assessment adds an important pedagogical dimension to the project, because it's not just having students acquire certain competencies, but there are also social competencies to be taken into account. So when you have to evaluate a peer, you have to know what, to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and be considerate, and also respect the sort of code of conduct. I mean, in the MOOCs I've taken part in, there was a peer assessment task, and we had to subscribe a code of conduct. So be fair, use appropriate language, be considerate of differences in culture. So what is appropriate for us may not be appropriate for other people's culture. So this is the case since it's a transnational project. So I think this dimension is really important, because students need not only be able to produce digital content, but also to reflect on language, because we see on social networks how lightly language is used, how lightly comments are written without much reflection. So I think it's really important.
I just want to build on what she said, and I think it also teaches them, what I've seen is that learning from the social skills, which is what part of digital literacy is, that they learn not only how to give criticism, because in Spanish culture and education, especially on an elementary level, you tell them they're wonderful. And then they get out in the world and they're like, I'm not wonderful. Everything, they're all wonderful, and they're all 10s, and they're all excellent, and that's not true. And they can't learn, and they've got to learn to be able to deliver negative criticism, and as you said, and they also have to be ready to receive it, which is, I think, one of the hardest skills that my students have to deal with, is learning I'm not perfect. You know.
Yes.
So can I just quickly comment on that? Because I thought that too, but in pilot, sometimes your students really do surprise you. In the pilot, we were all, in Italy, we were all shocked. We had given no, and actually we're thinking now of doing it instead, no indications whatsoever on how to fill in the peer assessment, on the type of language, on what to pay attention, or to be considerate, to be polite, etc. We were astonished, and we have some quotes. The qualitative feedback looked very much like the peer review of academic journals, was very punctual, but there were no reviewers B's in there. So they were very considerate in not hurting the other person's sensitivity without reducing the punctual critique. And we were shocked because, you know, when I write reviewers to journals, I have to go back and think, oh my God, no. Let's mitigate it, because what if I receive that, and how would I feel? But it's been something I've learned from the reviews I've received. And instead they were so good, so sometimes instead, maybe this time it won't be like that, but we were a little bit more confident in that, right?
Yeah. And I'd like just to step in just for a second to go back to what you said, because I think it's very important to talk also about institutions' resistance, because we had to consider the two levels, because it was very important for us to consider the formal inclusion of peer assessment also in ideological terms, that is making this meaning for our students. Not only, we know in research literature we have most experiments on the so-called formative peer assessment, like a pedagogical process, giving the chance to improve their socializing skills, their assessing skills, but not including formally peer assessment in their final grade. But this is also our challenge to confront institutions and have our students being able to formally evaluate their whole process, but not, as you said, Melinda, and I completely agree with you, not considering what they received as a feedback, but considering how they assessed the peer. So this is, and thank you because you gave the chance to point out that our evaluation is based on what they do, not on what they receive. So this is very important for us as a pedagogical.
This is the pivot of our peer assessment inclusion in this project, basically. Yeah.
Erini, do you have remarks on that?
Just a question, what is the age of the students? I'm just wondering, how old are the students?
BA, MA students.
So like 20 to 28.
Even 19, even 19. It can be 19 to 22
Okay.
BA and 22 or even more, it depends.
We have exceptions.
Yeah, it depends. 25.
Okay. So quite old. I thought it's for smaller children somehow because somehow I had this impression that it's for younger people.
BA, MA.
So it's at the university level actually.
Yes,
Yes.
University. At the moment, maybe in the future. Who knows? And there is also another thing, sorry, very, very briefly, that I would like to add about the plagiarism. Yes, it's true. It's true, of course. We run the risk, okay, in particular if we consider web pages, blogs. But consider that, of course, at the beginning we said that plagiarism is not allowed, so there will be penalty, yeah, blah, 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 as usual, okay? But consider that when we ask students to create another document, such as, for example, in my case, a mock-up page. So even if they copy something, but they have to reflect on what they are copying, because they have to say, so what is the mock-up? So what is the rationale of that page or that blog? Okay, first. And second, we have the analysis. So students are requested to write an academic paper, okay, where they do not have to describe, but they have to somehow interpret, to analyze critically the product and the choices. Okay, so it's quite difficult to interpret, to justify the choices of someone else. Okay, everything is possible, but of course.
Thank you.
You have to think about it.
Good, I think it's a good point now to start the discussions, otherwise we go longer and longer in the evening. From my side, as L3S Research Center, University of Hanover, partner of the UMed for All project, I really thank you all for the participation and the active participation in the discussion. Not quite sure whether the coordinator of the project wants to also give the final word.
Final.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
So that we close in a really nice
but
way.
first of all, I'd like to thank Ivana and Philip and all the L3S Center because they were really thanks a lot. And thanks to you all for your presence, for being here, for your lovely talks and comments and feedback. So thanks a lot. We are very happy because it's always great to have such positive and also negative, because I think it's quite good to have any kind of feedback, and especially in between, so we can adjust also following your suggestions and advice. So thanks a lot and thank you. And I hope that you signed the form for
The interest,
the interest.
And I hope to see you all in Rome in 2019. Okay, write down on your diary, okay?
What day? What day?
The day, no, I'm not sure. June.
We'll send the call
Rome
for
is
papers
beautiful in June,
now. We'll send
okay?
the call for papers now, right?
Yeah, of course, there will be a call for paper. Okay, so in
Thank you.
advance.
Thank you very much.